Hey, it's Matthew David Hurtado, and this transmission is called Think and Get Nothing. It's not the secret. And what I did there is I just did a play on words, and I took Think and Grow Rich and The Secret, and I kind of broke it down into what I really think about the two of those so-called self-help books. Now, they're great because they get you halfway there, but half too smart is really not smart at all sometimes. And let me tell you why that is. A lot of people have this idea that if they're going to manifest all of their heart's desires, that it's enough to just think about it and to feel like you have it already. And that's half the equation. The other part is you have to be prepared to receive it. And to receive it involves engaging with the mind and navigating through the labyrinth of your mind so that you can bring it in, or what they call manifest it, into your reality. So the doing part is very, very, very essential, but what's primary to doing is a being choice. You have to make a choice of who you're going to be being in each moment. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's say that you have two individuals. You have an individual A and an individual B. And let's say each one of them joins a network marketing company because they have a dream that they want to make $10,000 a month in their network marketing company. So individual A gets a 90-day blueprint roadmap. Individual B gets a 90-day blueprint roadmap. Now, the static thing is the roadmap. It's the same roadmap. They're both in the same company, okay? Now, individual A and individual B also each take the same exact steps to manifest their dream. And individual A and individual B are both visualizing having all this success and wealth and all the good things that come with that. How do you determine which one is going to achieve the greater success, individual A or individual B? Everything is apples to apples so far. It's an unspoken, it's the invisible essence that makes the most difference, and that is how each one individually perceives him or herself that makes all the difference in the world. Your self-image, the way that you conduct yourself, means everything. So let's just say I make 25 calls and my goal is to recruit up, like they tell you in network marketing, and I want to bring in, a big fish or whatever you want to call it, and I want to explode my downline. So I make 25 calls and I say the same script as the guy next to me. How am I going to ensure that I'm successful when I make each call? Here's the answer. You want to do what's called a power pause. And you want to take yourself to a place of relaxation. And then you want to be the person. You want to be the person who already has the success that you desire. You want to embody the success in the moment, and then you take massive action. And what you have to do is you have to build enough repetition of this so that your mind will get out of the way and actually allow you to have the success you're looking for. Because it is true that you could just think, I have $1 million. I have it now, and you could get into the feeling of it. You could feel yourself spending all that money, which is, the secret in Think and Grow Rich. That's fine. But as long as your mind, or what I'm going to call your resistance, is intact, it's not going to allow you to have it. There'll always be some sort of roadblock, a sabotage, some sort of disconnect between you and your desire. So the way to build the bridge so that you can have it is, let me go back to the beginning and let me share my story with you. Because you're probably thinking, the heck does this guy know? Who is he anyway? All right, so let me tell you how it happened for me. My story started back in 2008. In 2008, I was a fitness trainer and I was in incredible health. Never took my health for granted, really. I was working out all the time, super strong. And I was involved in network marketing, and I had never really had any success. I always had this dream. I wanted to achieve $30,000 a month and be a director in the company that I was involved in. I thought that would be the ultimate epitome of success in my life. Never happened. Then I got sick. I came down with anxiety and then panic attacks, which led into agoraphobia. And to make matters even worse, I found out a year and a half later that I had late-stage Lyme's disease. I got real skinny and weak. I couldn't work at all. I ended up losing my house, my job. I lost everything. And I had to live in an abandoned 120-plus-year-old farmhouse with a rent of $200 a month. And I had to live on government assistance. And I was a 32-year-old man at the time, thinking, what did I just do with my life? Like, I was the antipode of success. I had read all the self-help books, and I certainly was visualizing myself being successful, but it was never working. But what I discovered and what happened to me is life-changing. And I think if you can capture the essence of what I'm talking about, this could really affect you as well and help you get to where you want to be. And I'm not going to try to be too lengthy here, okay? I'm going to get to the point. So when things seemed like they couldn't get any better because I was so hopeless and desperate, I actually started doing things differently. The first thing that I did, and I believe that everybody should do, is I started tithing. I heard about the practice of tithing from Randy Gage and from Catherine Ponder and from Mike Murdoch. I was starting to study prosperity. The one thing I needed more than anything in my life at that point was money. I was out. I was sick. I was dying. I needed to find help. I needed to get relief. And unfortunately, that cost money. So I started to study money, prosperity. And I think at the time, I borrowed like $20 from my mom, and I wanted to buy some supplements to help myself. And the lady down at the supplement store was so generous that she would sell me stuff at cost, and anyway, I took the $20 and I took the sacred tenth, which is $2, and I started tithing on it. Okay? To make a long story short, the doors of heaven did open up to me. And from that moment forward, every time I received, I was doing it on a daily basis. And every time I received something, I would break off the sacred tenth and I would send it to where I received spiritual nourishment. And it started to enrich my life. And not only that, but the promises. Catherine Ponder has a promise in book 13 in one of her little mini books, and it says, tithing establishes order in mind, body, and affairs. And where order exists, one cannot remain in debt. And I remember reading that. Well, order in mind, body, and affairs, I needed all that. Well, that started to happen. I started to get opportunities. People started showing up, that stuff that started working for me. I started to get well. And by the grace of God, I found somebody that understood Lyme's disease, and he took me on without any money at all and helped me start to jumpstart my immune system to get me well. And I started to get better and better and better. And then I incorporated rule that I have. These are my rules, by the way, but they're prosperity laws that worked for me. So the first one was tithing. I practiced the art of tithing. The second law was I started to follow my highest excitement in every moment. So what I mean by that is, when I was sitting on the couch and I was moping around because I was still being a sick person, I was under the spell of that identity. Therefore, everything that I did was only going to equate to, lack, and it wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. Let's put it that way. It's like the two network marketers I was talking about. As long as I was congruently behaving as a sick person and denying my true desire to go out and express myself in the world and be what I wanted to be, i.e. letting fear dominate my life, as long as I let fear dominate my life, I was never going to be much. But I wanted to take my life back, so I found an opportunity, and my highest excitement was to work at a smoothie bar. I was like 33 years old at the time, and at the smoothie bar, they were willing to pay me $7 an hour, and it was an hour-long drive from my country house to the job, and it was only like a 20-hour work week. And I did the math real quick, and I said, wow, this $7 an hour job is going to effectively pay enough for me to drive myself to the job and back. But it wasn't about that. You see, it was about my excitement. I loved that job. So I had another interview, and that interview was to sell windows and siding. And the guy was making all sorts of promises, and he was, you could make 10, 20 grand a month selling this stuff, and this is the opportunity you've been looking for. If you can sell, kid, we can get you going. And he called me kid, even though, he was only 10 years older than I was. But look at it like this. I looked at the two opportunities, and windows and siding seemed uphill. It seemed like an uphill battle, whereas doing the smoothie bar seemed like joy flowing downhill like a stream. And I was taught to always choose the downhill, natural downhill focus. And nothing you ever want is upstream towards struggle. It's always towards a downhill focus of joy. So I chose the $7 an hour job. And what happened next was within 6 months, I ended up taking over that entire nutrition franchise store for nothing but $350 out of pocket. Because I loved the opportunity so much, and because I chose to be, in my mind, a winner, and I took action towards becoming a healthy person again. Because remember, I was bedridden before, but I was tithing by this time, so I had God backing me. God was my financial and my health partner. I took action towards my dreams, and my dream became, at that time, to own this nutrition store because I loved it so much. So I contacted the owner and I said, hey, do you think I could ever own a place like this? I mean, I know realistically I didn't have any money and this and that back then. And he said, you know what, we'll think about it. Well, I started breaking the sales records there, and I started getting higher and higher days, more on average than ever before, to where the store actually was almost profitable. And I say almost because it was losing about $4 grand a month. So what did I do at that point? Well, the next thing I did was I took the store over, and I took all of the debt. I signed it all into my name, and I took over a failing nutrition franchise. I loved it so much. I did. I saw it as the only opportunity that was available to me that I actually loved, and I took it. It's like I just knew. I felt this is the one. So what happened next was I had an idea. An idea came to me, and I truly believe that the idea came because I was tithing and I was following my joy. You see, what happens is when you follow your joy, you actually put you and you back together again, and your destiny actually finds you because it's in a vibrational match with what you want. Everything you want is joy. You think it's all these images and this and that. You think you want to be a director in a network marketing company or whatever you think you want. You really don't want any of that stuff. You just want to be in a state of joy nonstop, and then the abundance will flow from that state of being. That's what I was telling you. State of being matters. It's not think and get nothing, and it's not the secret. It's thinking is ridiculous. Thinking is nonsense. You see, if I was using my thinking, I would have never taken the opportunity because that was a stupid business idea. I was losing money every month, and I didn't have any money. No. I was following my excitement. And I was partnered with God as my financier and my backer, okay? So that was faith right there. I took it on faith. And faith is not logic. So there's nothing about thinking involved in faith. So what happened then was I got an idea, and I took some of the best-selling products on there, and I rebranded it. I took a loan from a friend. I said, hey, I've got an idea. Would you borrow me some money? just to get a product line started. And if all else fails, I'll give you the product and you can have all your money back and sell it, no problem. So he had nothing to lose. So he wrote me a check, and the next day I had $7,000. And I started a product line. I put it online. I made some YouTube videos. I did a review. I basically did a sales process that I was doing in the store, made it online, reviewed the product. Well, before I knew it, that was bringing in a six-figure income. And within less than a year, I was making a six-figure income doing what I loved. And to make a long story short, that escalated and I moved into having a seven-figure income in less than 3.5 years. So I went from a place of being desperately ill, broke, disabled, with no future, to a place of becoming a millionaire with a seven-figure income, with not just one, but I've had 3 multi-million-dollar businesses now. And that all happened at lightning speed. And when I look back, I think about the secret, the real secret that got me there. And the real secret had nothing to do with visualizing myself being, doing, and all this stuff. I mean, that's all mental foreplay. That's just to get you in a state of feeling good. Those are just archetypes of what you'd like. I do believe in making dream boards, and I have a dream board of what I want to achieve, and I put that up in my gym so I can see it, because it gives your mind direction. I do believe that it's a good idea to think like a prosperous person and to see yourself doing well and being, who you want to be. I think that's important. But I spent my entire 20s, all that decade, thinking. And the one common denominator that always eluded me, there's 2 of them. First of all, I never tithed, so therefore the curse was always on me. And I don't care if you're religious or not. I don't care if you think it's a scam, because it works for me and it works for a lot of people. And I'm not here to sell you. You're not going to give me your tithe. I'm not a minister. But if I'm going to share my strategy that took me from less than zero, to 7 figures in less than 3 years, it has nothing to do with any opportunities or any business or network marketing or anything like that. Those are all things I thought I used to have. But what I did differently was the second thing. I started following my excitement in every moment. What excited me? And then that leads you into realizing that the synchronicities will line up for you. But you have to take action. You can't sit around and think. That's why I call this, you will think and get nothing. And it's not a secret anymore. It's not the secret. I didn't just sit on my couch and think. I took bold action in faith. And it made no logical sense. You see, if you think you're going to plan your future out and everything's going to line up for you the way that you want it to, you're crazy. You're crazy. If that were the way life worked, then there would be no mystery and there would be no need for a divine presence or a divine source. I call it God. Some people call it whatever they want. You see, that's not the way things really shake out. There's no spiritual evolvement. There's no growth in that. But what I do know is that the only influence that you have over your future is your seed and your faith. Okay? So it's the sowing and reaping. So how do you want to plant a future? How would you like to plant a future that will bring you an abundant harvest beyond even what you can dream of? You see, that's what happened to me. My old goal was if I could have $30,000 a month, I would just be rich. Well, that was nothing, okay? More than tripled that. And you know what? It wasn't about the money anymore after that happened. It was all about, wow, what could I do with my life now that I have all this extra free time and all this comfort? You see, that's when you can get really effective and you can really shake it up. But first, you got to follow a certain path that's maybe a little different than what you're used to. You see, whatever you're doing now is producing the results you're getting now. So if you're getting less than ideal results, there's a couple of reasons why, maybe a whole host of reasons, but there are some key things you can do, and I've given them to you. And to make a long story short, if you just apply the simple things I've just told you right now, number one, tithing, so important, so powerful, so magical, puts you back into the magic of life again. and you get to experience the unknown. You get to experience magic. You get to see how the universe can support you. And then from that level of knowing the universe will support you, you start to feel secure from within. And then security from within attracts riches from outside. The second thing is whatever excites you the most in any given moment is the action that is most appropriate for you to take. Because what that is a seed as well. Because whatever you do in terms of action creates cellular memory, which creates action again, which is called karma. So whatever action you take, whatever quality is infused in that action is what you birth your future out of. So are you going to act with fear? And are you going to choose struggle? Or would you rather choose excitement and faith? What do you want your future to be filled with? You see, oftentimes people do this. I did this for a decade in network marketing. This is what I did. I had a big goal of what I wanted. I wanted to be the king of network marketing. Okay, so I would choose a company and I would go out and I would struggle and I would work hard and I would struggle and blah, blah, and it just never worked. It never, ever worked. That wasn't an idea that was right for me. That would have given me a heart attack. I see the universe is smart enough to not let that be my destiny because I would have hated that industry. I dislike that industry 100% now because I think it's morally wrong from where I stand. Now, that may not be your belief system, but in my world, I felt like I was using people. I felt like I always had to get people involved. And the way that they train you, I thought was upside down because what I've learned from true prosperity is you want to come from a place of giving, and then essentially receiving is automatic. You don't have to worry about the harvest when you're planting the seeds. But in network marketing, I was always trying to get somebody in, get them in, sell the opportunity, sell this, sell that, sell this, sell that. And it wasn't joyful for me. It really wasn't. It wasn't joyful at all. And that was my clue, because I would always have headaches. I would always get burned out. I'd always get tired. And I was struggling. You see, I was going uphill. So just make sure that whatever you choose, when you get to the top of the ladder, make sure you're not on the wrong building when you get to the top. The next thing I did wrong is obviously I didn't honor the tithe, the sacred tenth. I didn't know about it. And I certainly did live under the curse. I experienced 2 bankruptcies before I finally discovered the magic that tithing had to offer. So doing the things that I did differently, it took a lot of courage actually, because when you decide to go after your highest excitement, the first thing that happens is your mind jumps in, and this is where you start thinking again. So what I'm telling you is to stop thinking. You don't need your mind. Get it off the throne. You've got your mind on the altar, and you've subjugated your power, and you've sat down here, and you've made your mind the deity. Well, get your mind off the throne. Your mind is nothing but a collection of nonsense filled with opinions from other people. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your destiny. It's not designed to figure out the future. It can't figure out the future, and it's not designed to worry. And most people use it for those 2 things. Your mind is designed to remember the good times, and nowadays with the technology we have that can solve any problem, it's not really much use at all after that. So we're moving beyond the mind, and we're moving into the knowing. So the knowing comes from the heart. So if you can move from your head and you could move down into your heart, so think and get nothing, or know and already have it all, because you already know your destiny. Your destiny doesn't fit in a can. It doesn't fit in a box. If you're still with me, resonating with this message, the chances are very high that you are slightly out of alignment with your destiny, and I'm showing you how to turn that 2 degrees north so that you can end up on the shore of where you truly want to go. So stop following somebody else's blueprint and start following your excitement in every moment, and leave the money out of the idea. Forget about it. because whatever you really have a passion for, you will become the best in that area. And excitement will drive you to become the best. And in this new economy, becoming the best at what you do will translate into currency, because that is the value that you will have to offer no matter what form of currency is available, whether it's Bitcoin, gold, silver, US dollars, yen, whatever you want to call it. Those are just symbols of currency. But what you have to offer is you have to bring from what's in here out into the world and let that flow so that you can align with your destiny. And following your highest excitement in every moment puts you and you back together again and puts you in the driver's seat of your own unique destiny. And then when you find your purpose and passion, then your prosperity will meet you in that place. So that's all I have to say. That is the talk I wanted to give to you. It was my 7-figure blueprint to success. And it's really simple, actually. And it should be. Why not? So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to reach me, I'm at rnadrops.com. That's one of my companies. And you can always send an email or give me a shout out. And that's all. Thank you.